Hey Dystopians, Dirk here. I'm back for a very long overdue vlog on the word bearers project. As you can see, there are some word bearers actually sitting in front of me here. So I'm going to spend a little bit talking about where I am, kind of the struggles I've run into as I've gone through this project, and then we'll switch out things a little bit and we'll do a little bit of a close-up on the completed units that I have. So what I have done, I do have my Praetor done. He's the Legion Tribune and Tartaros Terminator armor. That was the Forge World Special armor. He does have a retinue or a bodyguard of 5 Tartaros Terminators. The Sergeant has, well, I'll go into exactly what everybody's armed with. But Legion Tartaros Terminator squad, 5-man Volkite Culverin squad, so the heavy weapons squad. 2 identical 10-man tactical squads, and a Legion Contemptor. That's what's done and painted. It comes to, I think I just statted it up with not that long ago, like between 1,100 and 1,200 points in a straight Zone Mortalis force without any weird rights of war or anything. I don't quite have everything done to do any word bearer special rights of war. But this is what I have, and I have not played a game with it yet. I'm working on my buddy who has his Ultramarines, and when he has that a little bit more complete, then we can start doing some test games, because we are going to do a Kelth campaign, the Underworld War, which I think I've talked about before in the videos. Still to do yet, I do have 2 Apothecaries. And I do have a Moritat with twin Volkite Serpentas, I believe are the pistols. I did have a little bit of a fight with him. He does not have any hose or ammo feeds going to his backpacks. I need to replace that with something. I have not figured out exactly what that's going to be yet. Kind of gone through some stuff. I might end up being, I've heard like bass guitar strings are really good for that. But we'll see. I have to make a decision there. And then I have 2 5-man squads. One is a tactical support squad with plasma guns, and the other one is a heavy support squad with heavy bolters. I had a bunch of heavy bolters and some extra Marines. I'm not sure it's the best stat-wise, but you do read about them quite a bit in the Heresy novels, like the heavy bolters and stuff. And I thought it would be fun to have 5 heavy bolters, which is like 15 shots, thundering around in Zone Mortalis. And then I also have a chaplain to do. I am going to do, I'm setting up right now to do a full tutorial on painting him as the word bearer's color scheme that I have, which is fairly interesting, I think. I really like the way it turns out. So was that. And I do still have these 2, which are base coated in the word bearer scheme, a Dreadnought drop pod and the Anvilus pattern drop pod. I could be wrong on that one. There's 2 of them and I always get them confused. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I really would like this to be a Zone Mortalis force, so what's the point of having the drop pods? I don't know, the drop pods may end up getting stuck into a different force. I'm not sure what, because my main force, which you can kind of see on the shelf right behind my head, is Salamanders. Not a huge fan of like Salamanders and drop pods. It can happen, but for a lot of the Rite of War, it can't. So I don't know. I have 2 drop pods. I have to figure out what to do with them yet. Maybe they'll end up in this force. Maybe they won't. So that's what's done. Part of what, well, real life always happens. So that's part of why I haven't finished, or I haven't made it further in this. I have faced a few struggles, mostly with clear coating my units when they're done. So I have this foible where I can't really consider a unit to be complete in my head until I've thrown that matte clear coat on. It seals up the decal nicely, because I usually use a gloss coat, a gloss or a coat of Ard coat from GW, where the decal is going to go. The decal lays over the top and it seals real nice to that Ard coat. But then you have this really shiny spot on the shoulder pad or wherever you're putting the decal. So I usually like to hit it with the matte coat. Last summer, I ran into like more trouble than I have ever had before with the matte coat messing up. And I had a couple different types of issues. One, I sprayed it on and it clouded hard. Luckily, I figured out through some research and trial and error that I could hit it with a gloss coat, which reactivated the undercoat that was clouded, and then that sealed okay, and then I hit it with the matte coat and everything worked out on that unit. But then I was like super leery about the type of I can't remember who, I might have been using Purity Seal from GW. I honestly don't remember which was. So I bought a different brand. I think I bought the Army Painter brand, and I thought I shook it up enough, the whole 2 minutes of shaking. And then I went to spray the Heavy Support Squad, and the first squirt, which I now have learned to spray off to the side on the edge of the box or whatever, so it's not on a model. The first squirt came out in just a big gloop, and it just like hung off like it was a huge, super thick. I mean, my models weren't going to get chipped, but it was obscuring detail and just it was really thick. That was a little trickier. I had to do a bunch of like tedious scraping, and I got most of the goop off, and then I re-hit it with the gloss coat just like I did with the other one, and then the matte coat, and they've turned out okay. Since then, I have not had any problems. Those were like, I think, the first 2 units I did with this. Now, if I know which units to pick up and look at, and I can still see that it's on too thick on the Volkite Culverin Squad. But for the most part, at tabletop level, they look great. The camera doesn't pick up any issues. So, yeah, I'm okay with that at that point. But that's where I was struggling with to get to here. So I'm going to pull the camera off. We're going to set up. I'll do some real nice close-up shots of everything everything I've done so far, where it's at, and then I'll come back and round up, kind of just give you a, hey, where am I going to go from here? Here is the Word Bearer's Legion Praetor. He is the Legion Praetor Tribune. I think I'll frequently use him armed just like this model was, but I may swap him out and just use him as a regular Praetor. Other times and arm him, Paragon Blade or whatever. But not much to say about him. I didn't do a ton of conversion. It is a Word Bearer's custom head, but that's about it. He does have a fair amount of decals, not really noticeable other than the shoulder guard from this angle. But yeah, that's him. That's what we have. I'll move on to the next one. Here is Word Bearer's Legion Tactical Squad, 10-man. The sergeant is armed with Artificer Armor and Power Sword, but everybody else is armed standard. No special upgrades or anything like that. I will not bore you by putting up another Tactical Squad. It's identical, but that's what I have right there for the Tactical Squad. So they're armed separately, slightly different poses obviously, but otherwise they are armed the same. Legion Heavy Support Squad with Volkite Culverins. 4 shots each. Probably throw the Sergeant in Artificer Armor, but otherwise they'll just be standard as they are right there. There's not a ton you can do to Heavy Support Squads. Probably won't swap the weapon out for an augury scanner or anything on the Sergeant. I'd like to have 5 shots or 5 unit or 5 models with 4 shots each. That's 20 shots. That's pretty hardcore, especially I think it's strength 6 AP4. So that's a lot coming downstream, especially in Zone Mortalis. So that's that unit. The Legion Terminator Squad and Tartaros Terminator Armor. I do have the Sergeant with a Power Sword and a Volkite Caliver. He also has the frag grenade launcher. I do have assault cannon in the unit, and then fairly standard 2 power fists, 2 chain fists. That's I didn't go anything crazy with this one. Kind of wanted to make a take all comers kind of flexible unit to be able to fit in and do things where I needed them. That's them. And last but definitely not least, the Legion Contemptor Dreadnought carries assault cannon, twin linked bolter, combi bolter in the fist. Did a fair amount of decals with him, as you can see. There's a few more that you can't quite see from this angle. I like the bigger models because it gives you, especially with the word bearers, just the chance to do that a little extra time on decals. They show up a little better. On the smaller models, it's harder to get them to really show up. But that's him, and that is what I have done so far. Okay, so that's the units I've done. A little bit of a more up close look at them, kind of how they're armed, what the plan is there. I have two 5-man squads, 2 apothecaries, and a Mortat left, and then also my chaplain, who I have right here. One of my next projects is actually to go through and do a whole tutorial on the word bearer scheme on him. So you'll see that coming up. It'll be its own series. It's not going to be part of the vlog series, but I may have some links back and forth between them. So that's coming up, and then hopefully get those other two units and then 3 characters done and painted up. And then kind of excited to see, I want Gal Vorback. I'd like to get a destroyer squad to hang out with the Mortats. That's the only unit that he can join. Just love the idea of throwing rad missiles all over Kelth. Those dirty Ultramarines. So yeah, that's the plan for this. Hopefully it's not quite near as long for the next vlog update and kind of where I'm at thing, but that's what I have so far. Hope you enjoyed it. Give us a like, a subscribe. It really helps to know that you guys are interested, and if you have any questions at all, definitely comment. I do enjoy answering comments and seeing that people are viewing the stuff, not just throwing it out into the ether. Thanks a lot.